Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new video, and this is going to be for something I have not done in a very long time, since summer, and I decided this is going to be my first one in a long time, and that's another franchise ranking. And for this franchise ranking, I'm going to be ranking a horror franchise, and as of course, and this horror franchise ranking is going to be for the Halloween movies. Yeah, because I decided to do a franchise ranking again, because I have not done a franchise ranking in a very long time, especially with this new kind of format, so yeah. But anyway, with that being said, of course, I'm going to be ranking all the Halloween films. And so with that being said, let's get started. And they're going to be from best to worst this time instead of ranking them in chronological order. So anyway, let's get started on with the number one best movie, obviously, in this franchise. So obviously, my number one favorite would easily have to be Halloween 1978. And I give that one a full-blown 10 out of 10. And of course, this is actually one of my favorite horror movies of all time. This is probably my favorite slasher movie of all time in cinema. It had such an original horror film plotline for the time, an amazing musical score, especially the opening theme. I mean, the theme song of the general franchise, and some suspenseful, memorable scenes, and wonderful and chilling cinematography. And I really love the performance from Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. She's probably my favorite role from her all time. And I really love Donald Pleasence's role as Dr. Loomis as well. Rest in peace. Dr. Loomis was probably my favorite role from Donald Pleasence. And the lighting is even very well done as well, and a very great direction from John Carpenter. Some very likable, interesting characters. Very good acting, obviously. An unpredictable ending that shows Michael can't be stopped and makes the viewer wonder what will happen next. And the death scenes are very nicely done, and I really love the iconic poster. I think the only bad qualities I have with this movie or that Michael Myers walks a bit slowly at times, so he's not really that scary in some moments. And it's in a few elements, like the first-person point of view shots and stock ideas are kind of similar to the original Black Christmas. Thankfully, this is the only one with the least bad qualities, and this is obviously the number one best movie of the series, and yeah, once again, I give it a full-blown 10 out of 10. Number 2 is going to be a bit of a controversial one, but guys, it's my opinion, so please just try to respect it. I know a lot of people didn't like this one, but I personally think it's my second favorite. And that would probably have to be last year's Halloween Kills, which came out last year. And this is for the extended cut, guys. I give the extended cut with the alternate ending an 8.5 out of 10. I actually really liked this movie because some of the plot points were very interesting. As well, the acting was really good, especially from Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, and stuff, and Nancy Stevens and Charles Stivers, and the acting was still good, and I really liked the role reprisals from previous movies as well, and I really liked they brought back some of the original movies characters like Tommy Doyle, Sheriff Brackett, Nurse Chambers even. As well, I really liked all the death scenes. The death scenes were very entertaining, and the reenactment of the climax of the 1970 finale was very spot on. I really liked seeing the cameo from Dr. Loomis. And they did a good job making the actor look a lot like Donald Pleasence in kind of a way with the CGI and stuff, so a very nice thing. I liked how they resolved that plot hole from the 22 movie where they somehow captured Michael at the end of the 1970 film, even though he kind of escaped. That was kind of a big issue with the 22 movie, and I really like the alternate ending better because it sets up how it ends better, and I have a feeling if we had the cut with the alternate ending, it probably would have got way better reviews, and probably would have made even more money at the box office. Personally, if we had that cut instead of the theatrical one we got. The bad qualities I have of this movie are some of the characters are really irritating and stupid, and they kind of cause their deaths, and I didn't like how they kind of... Laurie Strode was mostly in a hospital the whole movie, and I kind of wish she did more stuff. I get she was injured, but she could have had a bigger role. Is kind of my problem, and there's not really much of a plot, really. Some terribly written dialogue, like the mob gets really annoying quick with Evil Dice Night chanting. That got really annoying quick, and some plot elements get recycled a little bit, and we kind of... And the cliffhanger ending was already predictable because we have another movie coming out this year, so there's not really much stakes in this movie, but all in all, despite those bad qualities, I think this is my second favorite film in this series. And I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10, and this is for the extended cut, guys. The theatrical cut, I give us. My third favorite of the franchise would have to be Halloween 2 from 1981, and I give that movie an 8 out of 10. This is probably... Before Halloween Kills, this was probably my favorite of the sequels, but it's probably It's probably still my favorite of the original sequels before the newer ones came out. So yeah, why this one's my third favorite is because I like they stayed true to its predecessor, where they captured and kept the terrifying, mysterious tone the first one had. I like they even continued where the first one left off, and the acting from Jamie Lee Curtis and Donna Pleasant is still very great. Some unexpected and surprising twists and turns, and then they even leave no continuity errors or last minute changes either. Still some amazing cinematography and setting as well. Several new interesting characters like the paramedic Jimmy who has feelings for Laurie, and the soundtrack is still pretty good even though not as good as the first one. First one as well, some well done character developments. And even though Dick Warlock is no Nick Castle, he still does a pretty good job at playing Michael Myers. Some unforgettable death scenes as well, and the ending is very satisfying, where Michael gets shot in the eyes, blinded, and is burned alive by Dr. Loomis as well. Laurie survives his killing spree, and I kind of wish this kind of ended the Halloween franchise. This would have been a pretty good end to the series, and like that John Carpenter was going to continue on with the anthology idea, but until fans got all angry about it, and that's how he got Michael Myers back. But even though some of the other sequels still proved to be good, I kind of wish this were kind of the end of the Halloween franchise in kind of a way. I think the only bad qualities were that I don't like the idea of Michael and Laurie being siblings, and even John Carpenter does that. He only invented that because he was kind of drunk at the time, and Laurie once again doesn't get much screen time like she did in the first 1978 movie. It's not really realistic for a hospital to be deserted as one that the movie takes place on, but despite those bad qualities, I think this is my third favorite of the series, and it's kind of better to watch this as more of an epilogue than a sequel. And I give this movie an 8. So my fourth favorite of the franchise would have to be Halloween 2018, and I give that movie a 7.5 out of 10. And the reason why this is my fourth favorite because this was definitely a perfect way for the franchise to redeem itself after the terrible Rob Zombie movies and Halloween Resurrection. So, but yeah, anyway, why I like this movie, and I think it's my fourth favorite, because I really like they brought back Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Nick Castle as Michael Myers, and John Carpenter, who helped direct the movie. And making Laurie actually prepare for Michael on his next killing spree so she can kill herself is really nice. And it proves how brave she's really gotten, like Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise. Some great acting once again from Curtis, obviously. Andy Matticock and Judy Greer. And Michael Myers is still intimidating, scary figure he was 40 years ago, and Nick Castle and James Jude Courtney both did an amazing job playing him. And he's no longer humanized this time around, which was very nice. Some couple of clever Easter eggs and throwbacks to the first film, a top-notch soundtrack, some amazing character developments, insane cinematography as well, and a rescue the franchise as well. Making Laurie and Michael no longer siblings is very nice, and it's better that way. The characters are really unforgettable. There's no continuity errors, and some good direction from David Gordon Green, and good producers wise from Danny McBride as well, who also produced this movie. Believe it or not, guys. And certain scenes are unpredictable and terrifying as well. I think the reason why this is my fourth favorite is because the title can confuse some newcomers to the original film and make it look more like a remake than an actual sequel. And characters like Kevin and Ray were so annoying and unnecessary, and they did very little to the film. I always skip Cameron scenes because he annoys me so much. And actually, thankfully, Michael killed him in Halloween Kills, and Dr. Sargent turning evil and killing Sheriff Hawkins was kind of an awful idea as well. And the plot is a little unoriginal, and I kind of don't get how they captured Michael at the beginning of the movie, even though he escaped at the end of 1978. But despite those bad qualities, this is still my fourth favorite of the franchise. It was a good way to redeem the franchise, and I give this movie a 7.5. So my fifth favorite of the franchise would have to be Halloween H20 or H2O 20 years later, and I give that a 7 out of 10. Now, the good qualities I like with this movie is that after in Halloween 4, when Laurie was presumed dead, I liked the idea that she actually faked her death to go into hiding, and I like they erased the horrible Thorn trilogy that I'm also going to get to in a little bit. After this movie and actually just brought back the whole Laurie Strode storyline, and I still like the performances, especially from Jamie Lee Curtis, Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, and Ella Williams. I also really like the ending of the movie where she beheads Michael. It was also a good end to the series, or a good end to the Laurie Strode storyline. I kind of wish they kept it that way, but I think the only problems I have with this movie that I didn't like how they tried to make this movie too much like Scream at times, and Michael Myers really wasn't that scary really, and I really did not like his mask in this movie. His mask really sucked as well, and he barely has much screen time. He doesn't really kill as much, but yeah, and I also didn't like they made this movie a little too lighthearted because Halloween is not a lighthearted franchise, and Halloween is not supposed to be a family-friendly franchise, but all in all, despite some of the bad qualities I have with this movie, I give this movie a 7 out of 10, and I think it's my fifth favorite, and it's actually kind of a decent close to the Lord Strode storyline before Resurrection screwed that all up. So my sixth favorite would have to be Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which started off the bad Thorn trilogy, unfortunately. But this is probably the only decent film of the Thorn trilogy, and I give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. Now, I don't think, now once again, don't think it's as bad as the other two that came after this one, but it's kind of where the series was starting to get weaker. But the good qualities I have of this movie is that Michael Myers returns to this film as he has a new mask, and with the same serial killing tendencies from the first two movies, it still carries the same terrifying, mysterious tone of the first two films, and they really like the new character Jamie Lloyd, who was played wonderfully by Danielle Harris, and was with the niece of Michael and the daughter Laurie Strode, and also a new take on the final girl as a child, and has remained one of the most popular characters in the franchise. There is also some likable new characters like Rachel Carruthers and Sheriff Ben Meeker. Some great acting from Ellie Cornell, B.O. Starr, Kathleen Kennett, and Donald Pleasance, and Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace in the first one returned to this film as teenagers, but unfortunately they don't really have much screen time, which was kind of annoying. And then a new and great soundtrack, and George P. Wilbur is pretty decent as Michael Myers, but doesn't really come close to Warlock, Courtney, or Castle. And the ending scene where a bunch of people gun down Michael and he falls through the ground is actually pretty awesome. The only now for the bad qualities, and I don't really like how the script revealed that Laurie died in a car crash, but thankfully she did come back in age 20 and then later 2018. Some really unlikable characters like Brady, Kelly, and the kids at Jamie's school as well, and the idea of Jamie becoming the new villain of the franchise was really ridiculous and was scrapped in the next movie. It's not as scary or striking as the first two movies, and a goof featuring Michael's mask with blonde hair instead of black is also pretty bad, and most of the kills are kind of lame, but despite that, I think this is probably the most tolerable of the Thorn trilogy, and I give it a 6.5. So my seventh favorite of the franchise would have to be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and I give that a 6 out of 10. So now, I don't think it's as terrible as some people say it is, but I don't think it's that great like some fans claim it is. I mean, it's still better than like 5 or 6 or Resurrection or even the Rob Zombie crap, but I'm not really too big of a fan of it, and not because Michael Myers is not in it. There's some other reasons. But let's get on with the good qualities first, though. What I liked is that the idea of the Halloween franchise being an anthology series is good, and it's a breath of fresh air from the previous two films as well, and the idea of a corrupt company creating masks and kills anyone who wears them is very original. And the actors do give some decent performances, like Tom Atkins as Daniel and Ed O'Harley as Colin Corrin. And even though Michael Myers is in this movie, Colin Corrin and the business he runs are very entertaining and sinister antagonists. And there's a nice reference to the original film as a commercial for it is shown on television at one moment. And the commercial jingle for Silver Shamrock Company is very catchy. Some excellent character and story development as well. Now, the reason why I don't like this movie as much is because I really don't like that the Silver Shamrock song could get annoying, and while I don't mind Michael Myers not being in this movie and them going for a little more of an original approach, I kind of wish they just didn't try to connect this to the Halloween franchise and kind of just called it Season of the Witch, which that it probably would be received better if it was just called that and not Halloween 3. Because this is not really a Halloween movie, per se. But as it wasn't really well received, and it's criticized for lacking Michael Myers, which kind of caused them to bring Michael Myers back. But all in all, this is still an okay movie, but I think I could put it in 7th best, and once again, I give it a 6 out. So my 8th favorite of the franchise would have to be Halloween 2007, or aka the Rob Zombie remake. Let's get on with this, but I give this one a 5 out of 10. Now, it's not as bad as the sequel per se, but this movie was pretty damn bad. Like, what I really don't like about this movie is that the first half of the film was just Michael Myers as a kid, and shows him being some emo teenager with a stereotypical and cliched messed up childhood results in serial killer backstory, like an abusive stepdad, like, and yeah, Ronnie was so annoying in this movie, and man, had rude sister, gets bullied at school, and only one that likes him is his own mom, which is played badly by Sherry Moon Zombie. Oh, God, I always skip the stupid prequel scenes because they really annoy me so much, and it's such an unfaithful reimagining of the original 1978 movie with horrible grasp of the source material. Like, I don't like they made Dr. Loomis a novelist, even though he's still kind of Michael's psychiatrist, and I really don't like Sherman Zombie's performance as Michael's mom, and it even kills, and Michael kills his sister in her bed instead of her room desk, and they give Michael Myers too much backstory and character development. You knew nothing about him in the original movie. You're not supposed to know anything about him. It works better that way. And seeing Michael as a child talk just takes away what made him so horrifyingly intimidating. And oh god, the dialogue in this movie was so disgusting and inappropriate as well. Like, especially, and I really hated Scout Taylor Compton's irritating performance as Laurie Strode. Like, I know you can't match Jamie Lee Curtis, but oh god, her Laurie Strode annoys me to death. Listen, and don't even get me started on that cringy scene where she sexually penetrates the bagel in the director's cut. That scene is so cringe and stupid, and as well. And I didn't like what they did with Linda, where they made her this foul-mouthed and irritating person in the remake, and the fact, and almost all the characters are just so unlikable. You're actually rooting for Michael to kill him. That's something you're not really supposed to do in the films, and I also hate the infamous scene of director's cut where the two scenes rape that young woman in the cell. That scene is so unnecessary and pointless. And I really like it's not in the theatrical cut because, yeah, yeah, and thankfully the bagel scene's also in the director's cut only. Now, for the good qualities I do have in this movie, I do like Malcolm McDowell's performance as Dr. Loomis in this movie, anyways. There are still some brutal death scenes, and Michael's mask and designs are pretty creepy, and really like that Danielle Harris plays Annie in this movie. I like they got someone from the originals to come back, and I would still watch it over 5, Resurrection, and 6, and soundtrack is still pretty good, and yeah, those are the only good qualities I have of this movie, and I give it a 5. So my ninth favorite would have to be Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. And I give that one also a 5 out of 10. Because, like, I really did not like the incredible, messy, and convoluted story where Donald Pleasance barely appears in this film and doesn't do much. I tried as Dr. Loomis, anyways, they tried to make Tommy Doyle too much like Tommy Jarvis, even though I thought Paul Rudd gave a pretty decent performance for his very first movie. And I hated how they recasted Jamie and killed her off so early in the film, and not to mention how they basically made it look like Michael Myers kind of raped her in a way. So that really did not work with me. The characters are really unlikable and impossible to root for this movie, and especially when they implied that Michael's the father of Jamie's child, so that really did not work at all. Overly stylized editing and camera work, and the acting ranges from bland and stuff to just sometimes pretty good, and the Cult of the Throne repeatedly talks about having some grand plan for Michael, which was a waste of time too, and an abrupt, unsatisfying ending in both the cuts, and several continuity errors, and much like the other sequels after Halloween 2, I hate how they try to humanize Michael so much, something the original and second one never tried to do. And so many stupid, irritating, unnecessary strobe lights as well. Many moments feel like an unintentional comedy. And although the reason I don't find this one as bad as the next three I'm about to get to, and some of the kills are pretty creative, it still has a creepy soundtrack, and Michael Myers' masking is better and a little more faithful than the previous two films. And Dr. Loomis is back to being a likable character, unlike the unlikable character he was in 5, which is coming next, and J.C. Bray gives a decent performance as Jamie, and I still did like Paul Rudd's performance as Tommy Doyle. So yeah, all in all, guys, I would give Halloween: Curse of Michael Myers a 5 out of 10. So at number 10, the third worst for me would have to be Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. No. And I give that movie a 4.5 out of 10. Now let's just get on with this. The bad qualities, like most of the new characters, especially Tina, and the two goofy police officers are so annoying. I always skip most of Tina's stupid scenes because she annoys me so much. And it really ruined the iconic ending of Halloween 4 by revealing that Michael is still alive and the evil was not passed on to Jamie Lloyd. And there's way too many cartoonish moments in here, like Jamie somehow being able to outrun the car Michael's driving. And I also really did not like how they made Jamie Lloyd deaf in this movie and she never talked. Like, that was so stupid. And I also do not like Michael Myers' ugly mask in this movie. It looks like it's constipated, and it rejected Thomas the Train character. Some numerous plot holes as well, and they flanderized Dr. Loomis in this movie. He went from that confident and selfless psychiatrist, and he's now, in this one, he's just an unlikable jerk. He's not nearly as unlikable as he is in the next Halloween movie I'm going to mention, but who was willing to berate Jamie and use her as bait to Michael Myers. And the soundtrack was very generic, and the film died as soon as they anticlimactically killed off Rachel from the fourth movie. Instead, they replaced her with that annoying character, Tina. And even Sheriff Meeker is also underutilized and even abruptly killed off in the epilogue. And I even hated how they humanized Michael this movie by making him cry and be taken out with tranquilizer darts. Michael Myers would never let himself be taken out like that. And the Myers house looks nothing like it originally did in its predecessor, either. An abrupt and unsatisfying ending, which Michael's thrown in jail, only to be broken out of prison by some mysterious man in black, and Jamie Lloyd just crying, "No!" as the credits roll. And the cinematography is subpar and lazy. There's so much paddling and boring filler, and Jamie's psychic connections with Michael are nothing more than a ripoff of Tina's from Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. But the redeeming qualities I do have in this movie is that Danielle Harris, Donald Pleasence, and Ellen Cornell still give some good performances. The scenes of Jamie and Billy are pretty cute, and some cool, memorable kills, and the laundry chute scene is pretty terrifying, but all in all, this is the third worst Halloween movie for me, and I give it a 4.5 out of 10. So at number 11, the second worst Halloween movie for me would have to be a film that actually is liked by a lot of people, and I respect their opinions, but I kind of don't know why this movie is so popular with fans, and that would definitely have to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Oh my god. Let's just get this out of the way. But I give that a 3 out of 10, man. And here's why. Like, Michael Myers' new design in this movie just sucks. He's now this... I hate they made him this homeless, bearded man, and you can see his entire face because his mask is all broken and stuff. And, like, Michael Myers is not supposed to be a human being. Like, that was the problem with Rob Zombie. He tries to humanize Michael way too much, and that's something he's not. There's almost pointlessly needed amounts of cursing that really get you on your nerve, even in rated R standards. And I really did not like Dr. Loomis in this movie. Dr. Loomis is that they made him this really unlikable jerk author who abuses his receptionist, and God, his scenes are easily so unbearable. I always have to fast forward some of his scenes because they really irritate me to death. And Laurie's hospital nightmare sequence goes on for way too long as well, and I also don't like that scene with the two paramedics who talk about raping corpses. Thankfully, Michael Myers at least killed them. And a few plot holes too that also are irritating, and much like Halloween 6, they tried to humanize Michael and solve the mystery of why he suddenly became evil. Also, and a few of the shots are even hard to see, and I also really even hate the constant white horse stuff and as well, and I still don't like Sherman Zombie's acting either. And they even waste talents of cameos like Weird Al, Octavia Spencer, Margot Kidder, and Richard Brake, who serve nothing other than filler as well. And I still don't like Scarlett Taylor Compton as Laurie Strode. She was even worse in this movie than she was in the first Rob Zombie film. It's like I can't stand a minute of her. Thankfully, the good quality I will say in the director's cut is at least she dies in the director's cut, which was so sassy because I really hate her Laurie Strode. And speaking of the director's cut, guys, don't even get me started on that stupid cringy moment in the director's cut where Michael takes off his mask, and before he stabs Dr. Loomis, he yells, "Die!" And, like, for Pete's sakes, Rob, Michael Myers doesn't freaking speak! God. And the director's cut is so much worse. Like, Dr. Loomis is even more unbearable. I really hate the dialogue in this movie again, and I guess the only good thing qualities I have of this movie is at least they didn't try to copy the 1981 sequel this time, and at least they still try to make Michael Myers evil, like a certain other one that I'm also going to talk about next. And Danielle Harris and Brad Dourif actually do give good performances. They're like the only best things about this movie. And some emotional moments, like where Laurie discovers Annie's dead body, and the soundtrack is decent. The murder scenes are still brutal and memorable, and the theatrical cut is a bit better. And I really like when Dr. Loomis died in the theatrical cut because I really did not like him so much. I was so satisfied to see Michael finally kill him in the theatrical cut. But all in all, despite that, I easily consider Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 the second worst film in the series, and I give it a 3 out of 10. So at number 12, the number one worst Halloween movie for me would have to be Halloween Resurrection. Here's why I hate this movie so much. One, I hate that they ruined the ending of Halloween H20 as well, and I hate how this movie even humiliates Michael Myers and Laurie Strode in the worst way possible. The film just died the minute they revealed Laurie did not even kill Michael, and then Michael shows up and then just kills her straight away, is where the movie dies for me. And the rest of the movie even just gets worse. Number one worst thing for me would have to be Busta Rhymes' character, Freddy. He's probably the worst Halloween character in this movie for me. I hate how they make him always defeat Michael and make him look like such a wimp. Like when he always taunts and overpowers him and fights with his stupid kung fu related moments, and also I don't even bring me up on that stupid scene where Freddy is wearing Michael's costume, and when the real Michael walks behind him, then Freddy sees him and he starts yelling at Michael to leave, and Michael actually listens to his instructions instead of actually killing him like the real Michael would have done. Like, that is not the real Michael Myers. Michael Myers would have killed him straight away. It's like, and the characters are even still unlikable. It even killed the franchise for 5 years, and Michael Myers' mask is even more ugly and too detailed. Some awful cinematography that made this feel like a directed DVD movie. Michael Myers is so weak and wimpy in this movie, as he always gets overpowered by Freddy as well, and some unrealistic cartoony moments like when Sarah screams so loud she makes glass break, and the poster's misleading. In the poster, Laurie Strode has short hair, yet in the movie, only 10 minutes she's in, her hair is long. So, it makes no sense. And some of the dialogue just kills what made the first two Halloween films so terrifying, like Busta Rhymes' Freddy's stupid trick-or-treat motherfucker line as well. Many pointless moments, and it doesn't even feel like a Halloween movie, but I guess the only bearable moments that Jamie Lee Curtis, despite getting killed off lazily, is still kind of the best thing of this movie. And there are still some decent kills, and despite the poor execution, the premise of the film is interesting on paper, but it gets ruined quick thanks to Busta Rhymes. So yeah, Halloween Resurrection is easily the number one worst Halloween movie for me, and I give that movie a 0 out of 10. And there we go. That's my ranking for all the Halloween movies. Now I want to know in the comments below how you would rank the Halloween movies if you've seen them. And until then, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.